Welcome to another episode of Innovators Anonymous. My name is Colin Waitsman. I'm going to be your guide today, and this is an exciting interview for me. We have a little bit of a mutual connection that we recently found out and discovered, which was pretty cool. But today we have Dan Horowitz on the show, who is a former collegiate athlete, life coach, and an author as well. Dan, thanks a lot for coming on to the show today, man.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. I'm really excited to be here and excited to have a good in-depth conversation with you.
For sure. Well, before we get into things, definitely want to talk on the wild connection that we somehow have. Can you kind of explain how you know this guy, Steve? Let's say that. How do you know Steve?
So Steve is great guy, and I grew up going to the same elementary school as him, and there was an after-school program, and we'd play that game around the world. And this kid just didn't miss, and he was a few years older than me, but ended up, he was just a great athlete, great basketball player, and ended up coaching my twin brother, Ben, and they won a championship together. And then obviously you worked for him, and he's a great guy, so I'm sure you have a lot of good things to say as well.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because it's not like we're from the similar area. We're not. You're from West Hartford, Connecticut. I live down here in the Philadelphia area. Hundreds of miles away. And to find out that some guy that you went to elementary school with was the person that was my manager, when I first got into the professional world. Pretty odd. It's a small world and getting smaller every day. So I just thought that was really cool. I had to say it.
Yeah, no, when I saw the picture on Instagram, I had to bring it up. So that's awesome.
Awesome. So Steve, if you're listening, shout out you. You're an awesome guy. But yeah, so kind of wanted to start things off with obviously you're a collegiate athlete. Kind of want to know what was your experience, being able to play basketball at a higher level, and how was that for you, just going through your 4 years after high school there?
Yeah, so I think at a young age, probably after the time Steve beat me in a game of one-on-one or something, I decided I wanted to play college basketball. And as a kid, you realize, you're watching games on TV, and you're like, I want that to be me. And then you want to play in the NBA. And, so that was my dream as a 10-year-old, to play in college. And then, growing up in Connecticut, UConn's the big school. So, as I got into high school, I realized Coach Calhoun, who was the coach at the time, probably wasn't going to come through the doors and offer me a full scholarship. So, I was like, well, do I still really want to do this? And the answer was yes. So, I kind of was persistent and took it upon myself to email over 150 schools, and only 10 replied. Either, they said that they were full with their recruiting class or to fill out a recruiting form. And then 3 watched me play. 1 said yes, and ended up at Newberry College in Brookline, Massachusetts. And I'm just so happy with that decision. It was, not too far from home where my parents couldn't come see me play, but also far enough where I can enjoy being in Boston. And I think the best part about it, and one of my bosses would say, it's a small college with a big heart. And, I just thought that was so true, such a tight-knit community. And a funny story is my roommate at the time, so his name's Bilal, he played soccer, and we went to the same high school. We were roommates together, but we weren't friends in high school. We just knew mutual friends. So he and I to this day are like best friends. So it's kind of crazy how that happened. And then I just had a lot of great teammates as well. So my teammates live in, one of them's in Maryland, DeRay. So shout out to Mount St. Mary for you guys. And then I had another friend, Julia, she's in Washington. Another friend, Prince, is in Worcester. So it's just all over the place, but they're all athletes and weren't just basketball. So I'm really happy with it, and had a great experience.
Yeah, I had that a similar experience with my school, going to a small school with a big heart, some would say. Many high schools are bigger than mine, and so it was a really cool experience, and a lot different experience than some of my friends who went to like Penn State or some of those bigger state schools. And they're like, yeah, I'll walk through campus and not see the same person twice throughout all 4 years. And I'm like, if I walk through campus one day and don't see someone I know, I'm super weirded out. It's
Yeah.
so weird that having that close feel, I think, was something that was really cool. And, not a lot of people think of when they think about going to college. They all think giant universities and, big buildings and things like that. But, it's not the case for every single one.
Yeah, and for you, did you feel comfortable like at a smaller school getting to see some people? Because some people just kind of want to do their thing and not see people they know. But obviously, you're a social guy, so I bet you probably enjoyed the interaction every single day.
Yeah, for me it was really nice because yeah, like you said, I liked seeing familiar faces. I liked having that smaller class atmosphere and being able to know who my professors were and know who it was that I was sitting next to. So if I needed help with something, I could ask them, or just seeing familiar faces, because I would get like I can get if I don't have like a reason to like talk to you, then like chances are like I won't go out of my way. But if I see you like every single day and I cross like the hall, I'll start saying hi. And then, if I see you outside of campus, we might hang out, and then you might have a new friend where, if you only see that person once a year, like chances are you're never going to talk to them. So I like that about the small school. I didn't know how you felt about, going to a small university yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's you really hit on it. That when you see somebody, you're kind of being a somewhat outgoing person, you want to say hi and just be friendly. It's especially when you're in one hallway, a small hallway, and it's just you guys. Like you want to acknowledge them, and then that can turn into a great relationship. And I think Newberry is great because it wasn't just the students; it was the professors who I'm so friendly with today, the security guards and the dining hall service people. Just everybody was so nice and friendly. So I think as being at a small college, you get to develop those relationships, and it just makes it, really special.
Yeah, something that was awesome for me with being a student athlete at a small school. I don't know if this is all because it was a small school, or maybe it was just I got lucky, but a lot of my professors were really, really supportive and helpful and lenient and flexible with being a student athlete. Like if I was like, hey, I have a meet this weekend, I'm not going to have time to do this project that you want me to do. Can I have an extension? Like a lot of them were super flexible and helpful with that. I don't know, was that a similar experience where like a lot of your professors were helpful and flexible with you being an athlete at your school?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that once you develop that relationship, that you're obviously take your academics seriously, but you're also invested in being an athlete. They definitely are understanding about, maybe giving you a few extra days to finish an assignment because you've proven and shown that you actually care about the class and that you want to do your best. But sometimes, time management, we do the best we can, but you guys have a track meet, that's a full day type of thing, and then travel, and you guys have Central Connecticut in your conference, so that's a long ride. So there's only so much you can do in regard to getting your work done. So I think they were all really understanding.
That might have been the worst ride of my entire life, driving up. Oh man, going from Maryland all the way up to Central Connecticut was rough. The worst part was ride. I'm sure it's the same for you guys. The drive up is like for student athletes who might just you're in high school and you're driving maybe 10, 20 minutes to your high school. It's like, oh, this bus ride stinks. You'll know how bad a bus ride is once you ride to a school 4, 5, 6 hours, you get beat or you lose, and then you have to ride back feeling like, you know, trash. And it feels like the bus ride just never ends. I mean, like, what was it like for you, coming home for like on a long bus ride or whatever it is after, especially a loss? I mean, it was awful. I couldn't imagine, how you might have felt in your sports.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a long ride for you guys. And my best friend's from the Baltimore area, so I've definitely made that exact drive, and it definitely could drag on a little bit. But especially I get to go see him after a loss. I can understand.
Mhm.
We played Southern Vermont, and that was tough. So sometimes I think we played them on a probably a Saturday, and they're at least 3+ hours away. And we got back at 1 in the morning, and our shuttle, we're on a hill. And so we take a shuttle down the hill, and there's a Boston College bus that goes down there as well and brings those students there. But we lived, my housing off campus was almost 2 miles away. The train stopped, so we could either pay for an Uber. It wasn't too cold that day, so me and DeRay, we walked 2 miles, took us about 45 minutes, and then his was near Fenway where he lived. So that was another hour. So, and that was after definitely a loss because Southern Vermont was one of the best teams. And actually, their coach, I believe, is now the head coach at the Mount now,
Oh, really?
which is another connection there.
These
But
connections, man.
yeah, he dominated that conference. So we never beat those guys. I think maybe my freshman year, but that was it. But that was definitely a fun experience walking all the way back to our dorms.
Oh yeah, it was. I remember vividly some of the nights after meets. So we would go. especially if we had a meet that was far away but not too far away, indoors, where we would get home at like, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And especially if it was indoors, oh my God, like, because it'd be freezing cold when you get out the bus. And so like and for us, especially my freshman year, because I didn't have a car, or my sophomore year. Yeah, I didn't have a car my freshman or sophomore year, or most of my sophomore year. We'd have to walk all the way across campus. And it sounds like, it's like, oh, Colin, you lived on a small school. It must have not been that bad. Be like, well, yeah, it's not that bad when it's warm out, it's 80 degrees and it's sunny, but when it's, 15 degrees outside and you're carrying this huge track bag and like your hamstrings are burning because you were sitting in this bus all day, it's pretty dang awful. And so, oh man, I remember freshman year having to walk all the way up the hill, like it's like, it feels like it's straight up, and my hamstrings were killing me. Oh my God, it was an awful feeling. Like I'm so glad I'm done being an athlete and having to do that during these days, because hey, I don't think my hamstrings could take any more of that stuff.
No, I'm with you on that. I definitely don't miss the long car rides when your legs start cramping up and you're in the 12, 15 passenger van. For us, that's how we traveled. You guys probably had a bus, but definitely those tight spaces are, once you get out, it's great, but then it's freezing and you're tense up, and it's definitely not good for the body.
For sure. But yeah, wanted to get kind of into how was your experience as an athlete, and first, before you even got to college, like you mentioned that you filled out 150 letters to go to to try to get to a school, whether it's emails, letters, whatever it is. Like that's a lot. Like like that. I couldn't, because I filled out, I think, like I applied to like 8-10 schools, and I was tired doing that. I couldn't imagine 150. I mean, like that's a lot of determination. Go through your process of what you're thinking of, and why are you staying so determined to do 150? Like that's something I don't know if I could do. You might have been just a better man than me in high school.
No, well, I appreciate you saying that, but I think for you, you obviously did well at the Division I level, and I was an under-recruited, student athlete. So for you, I think 8 schools is still a lot, but they obviously got, a really good one in you and your pole vaulting. So, they lucked out. But for the 150, I mean, it just kind of happened. There's, I think, like 300 plus Division III schools, maybe 400, and there's just so many out there. And I was like, the saying, shoot your shot. And I was trying to shoot my shot with as many colleges as I could, and just they don't know who Dan Horowitz is. And I just wanted to put my information out there, and hopefully they replied. And I think, like I said, going back to that 10-year-old Dan, where I just said my dream was to play college basketball. And, I really wanted to do that. And, a lot of coaches didn't respond, but I think a funny thing is I told my mom that when I made the NBA, she could sing the national anthem. And she was like, okay, Dan, like she never told me I couldn't do something, and like that, not reaching the NBA, I figured out myself. But senior day came, and I asked my athletic director, because like I said, tight-knit community, and they were always willing to help. And my mom was like the team mom and would make brownies for the whole school, essentially. That's why I have a lot of my friends, is because she'd bake for everybody. But I called her 3 weeks before senior day. I said, Mom, you're up, you're singing the national anthem. And she's like, what? And so in 3 weeks, she said she practiced, she had been practicing every day, just because she enjoyed it. And I know she's not like a great singer, but, she had so much courage and went up there on senior day and sang the national anthem. So I think, just that persistence of me trying to find a college was really cool. And I found the right one, because they let her have that special moment, which I thought was really cool.
That's awesome. Because hearing from that, like my mom was the team mom as well, for every single sport I did, every single one. Like football, like I wasn't even good in football. I was like, whenever people say, oh, you played football, I was like, yeah, I was on the team for sure. Like I definitely had a number, like that's about it. It's like that. And in track and field, she was the team mom there. And it was so cool, because I know there are definitely people on my college team that liked my mom more than they liked me. For sure, because she would take photos of everyone on the team, like every single event, and she'd make it like her job. She's like, I got to go and get Susie's photo because she's been asking for the past 3 weeks, and I have to take it. Like, so she'd like be going over, and so, and like that's for track, like that's the big thing. Like that's the brownies in track and field, like getting photos you can post on Instagram.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's like it was a similar thing to and to see how they all like were really supportive of her, and like they really liked and appreciated the going above and beyond, getting those photos was like super cool. It's like it
Mhm.
was like the national anthem of for us.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I liked it a lot.
Well, I think the fact that you had a mom like that shows probably the type of teammate you were, and I believe you told me, off air that you were voted as a captain as a sophomore. And that's a really big deal. And so the fact that you have your mom that's such a great teammate and probably supported you in that way, and then they see her doing that for them, people she doesn't really know, but you obviously care about. That just says a lot about your family and what kind of people you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome having. I'm lucky enough that I have great support system and people behind like really helping. I mean, who would you say in your whether it's as an athlete or as if it's as a professional now that you're done being an athlete, who would you say has been your biggest supporter or supporters in this time that has really helped you push yourself to the next level and reach those goals that you thought you might not have been able to get beforehand?
Mhm. Well, I'm sure similar to you, mom just being at those games as a kid, and when I was coaching the past 3 years in college, my mom definitely is the first person that comes to mind. And she's been in healthcare for 35 years. And just seeing her be such a great leader, especially during COVID. And I think she went like 3 months straight of going in every single day. She was like, would refuse to take a day off because her philosophy is, do what's best for the residents. And that meant her going in every day and just making sure that they were okay. And it was definitely a tough time for everybody and took a toll on her, but she never made an excuse. And, so she's just my hero and my rock, and definitely supported me throughout everything in my life. And, currently with everything going on, and this new transition of what I have going on. But I would also say my twin brother, Ben, he's the best teammate I ever had. And I know that's a little biased. And my corny joke is that he's my roommate, in the womb together.
Uh-huh.
Um, but he's the best. And he was a manager at Syracuse. And in order to be a manager at Syracuse for the men's basketball team, you have to do an interview. And a lot of those people have connections to the assistant coach. Maybe their family knows somebody or one of the players on the team. And that's kind of how you get your in. And he didn't have an in, but he dressed well, had his tie on, had his notebook, and really prepared for it. And they took a chance on him. And a few years later, he became the head manager, which is a big deal. And then you get to travel. So for the ACC, you got to go to Duke and North
Oh wow.
Carolina and Louisville and Virginia, all those cool big time schools. And and anything that he could do to help the team, whether it was passing, rebounding, cleaning up sweat, handing out water, it didn't matter what it was. It's just that you're a small piece of the puzzle helping the program. And he's just such a good person, and he never really got a ton of recognition, but they were always watching everything he was doing. And because of that, he coached at a Division II school for basketball after he graduated. And then the year after that, the grad assistant graduated. So they asked if he would do it. And so for the past 2 years, he's been the men's basketball grad assistant at Syracuse. And and there's a cool picture of him shaking Zion's hand after they upset them. They were the number one team in the country, and that was so cool. And he's never done it, to say like, look at me kind of thing. He just worked hard, and it was really cool to see his recognition and all of his hard work pay off. And just having him in my corner and watching his work ethic has really had a big impact on me. And I'm just so grateful to have, a built-in best friend like that. And that's something I could lean on.
No, that's awesome. I mean, being able to have, those support system like that not everybody gets, unfortunately, is like
Mhm.
it's huge. And yeah, I mean, doing those jobs that are behind the scenes, people don't recognize and realize sometimes that hey, those are ones that really help keep the cogs going, keep the ball rolling. Like those, I know that for our school, we like our basketball manager, like they threw like giant celebration. I think like during one of the last games or whatever, and like they were just like all super supportive and be like, no, like this guy like helped us get to where we are is like just
Yeah,
as important as one of the players, which is super cool. But
absolutely.
I got to know, since obviously you two are big basketball players and you played probably several times, who's winning on one-on-one? Who's the better player between you and your twin brother?
That's a great question. I say he wins. We play 10 games. He'll win 6. I'll win 4. If you ask Ben, he'll say the same thing, or he'll say the same thing that I'll beat him, or we say 50-50. But we definitely, the one thing that kind of kept us going during COVID, just being home and just playing each other one-on-one. And it was really fun. But that's a great question, and I think he's a very good team player and just does whatever the team needs. And definitely, definitely have to play again, and I'll keep you updated with who wins the next one.
There we go. There we go. Well, yeah, I'll need to know. Keep a score or a tally of who's winning there. But definitely something that I know we had mentioned and we had talked about before is you have a book either coming out or it has come out, depending on when you're listening to this show. Could you share a little bit? Oh, there it is. Oh, we have it. All right. So could you
Not
share?
live yet. Yeah.
Not live yet. Not live yet. Could you share a little bit about what it is and your passion about I guess championships and that mentality?
Yeah. So just talking about team and stuff, I just get so geeked up about it, as I can tell you do. And my why for writing the book is just trying to have an impact on as many players and coaches as I possibly can. And I think it's been 8 years I've been doing research on championship teams. And so, starting in college, being in Brookline, Mass, I was able to go into so many gyms and everybody was so welcoming. So I was in the gym at Boston University and got to go to practices and individual workouts for their men's and women's teams. Boston College, Northeastern, Harvard, and Tufts. And I just would go in there, either meet with the coach or just watch practice, and just picked up so many little things that I think are big things in regard to culture. So that's kind of where my love of just trying to find out what great teams do. I also worked at USA Youth Development Basketball Clinics, and they have some great speakers. And, I just learned so much from them. It was like 2 days full of just great people coming in and sharing all their knowledge. And I also worked at the NCAA regional event. So I got to see Jay Wright and Villanova, and, shout out to the PA guys. And then Texas Tech and Chris Beard, and be like outside of the locker room and seeing the players interact and the coaches interact with the players, and just really trying to observe and be a sponge. And, listen to great podcasts like you put on with, Tammy Matheny and Dr. Derek Greenfield. Like, they just add so much insight. So I've been listening to great podcasts, reading books, and I finally compiled 14 principles that I feel every team can implement for basketball teams, the players and the coaches. And I got some a great input from testimonials from a few coaches. So Brooke Wyckoff at Florida State, she's the women's associate head coach, one of the best, leaders and people I had an opportunity to meet. And she, spoke very highly of it. And then Coach Jones, the Yale men's basketball coach, he shared a little bit. He read the book and gave me some good words about it as well. So just talking to all these great people, championship level programs, and just try to condense it into a 29-page book that, all players and coaches can use, and hopefully help lead to a great basketball experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be hard to do, to be able to condense the 14 common threads that championship teams have into 129 pages. I mean, that's I'm sure, like, if given the opportunity, like you could write several books on them. But what are some of those common threads that you see that every championship team has? I mean, obviously cultures are different. Like, if you go to see the Los Angeles Lakers, their culture is going to be different than the Kansas City Chiefs, and then their culture will be different than Virginia or Duke or whatever it is. Like, the culture itself, like the little things might be different, but what would you say are some of those common threads that all championship teams need to have in order to be successful?
Yeah, well, I think, being a Division III athlete, I definitely went to some NCAA tournament games in Swarthmore men's basketball out in PA, number one team in the country this past year. I mentioned them in the book, and everything I mentioned in the book is all from observation. I have had conversations with a lot of these coaches, but I don't, directly quote anybody. It's all about from what I've seen as an outside perspective. And so they're a great program in the Tufts women's basketball program. They were, I think they were undefeated until their conference championship game this year. I may be incorrect about that, but really great culture. So those are two teams I think people should, follow and just watch. But basically, I would say a good one the Miami Heat were doing, as I saw in the playoffs, was after a player shoots a free throw, all four guys give them a high five, either a high five or pat on the back, because it just offer some type of positive talk. Like, you got it, man, make this one or make the next one, and just kind of pick them up, lift their spirits, and instill confidence. So that's one of them. Another one is the title of the book is Help Them Up. So there was a game with Villanova in the national championship a few years ago, and a player got knocked over at half court. And within 3 seconds, all 4 guys sprint over and pick him up. And like me and my 2 brothers were watching the game. We're like, that was awesome. We got to rewind it, record it. And the cool thing, if you look closely, is Coach Jay Wright took a step towards the player as well. Like he almost went to pick him up, because they're just programmed to do it. But then he saw his guys sprinting over and picked him up. So I think that's really important. I think another thing is just the bench. Like if the player at the end of the bench is not playing a lot, but is having a great time and just doing everything he can to add value to the team, cheering them on during timeouts, giving his teammates water, and just making sure everybody's good. And also observing and seeing that if there's anything that he could see on the court and maybe communicate to one of his coach or the assistant coaches that could help the team out. Just little things that give your team a competitive advantage.
Yeah, with that last one, we saw it very prominently in this previous NBA championships between the Lakers and the Heat with Udonis Haslem.
Yes, love him.
Udonis Haslem, at this point in his career, he's now the oldest player in the NBA that's still playing. And saying that he's still playing is a little bit of a stretch, at least during playoff times. He's definitely on the team. But he's got just so much wisdom. And I remembered seeing in the finals, they're like just getting hammered by the Lakers at this point in the game. Just like the Lakers were just dominating them. And he, who is the last man on the bench, like you were just saying, is getting all up in their face, talking about I don't know what he's saying exactly, but it's like, if you want to win, like you got to turn it on now. Like we got to do this thing and actually win the game. And that was, I think, game 2 or game 3 when they won. Mm-hmm. So it showed that little conversation and whatever he said did something to the team, no matter how minor or major, that flipped the narrative that game and got them a victory at the end. I think that value that he brought to the team right there is immeasurable to the value that a Jimmy Butler might have gotten with his triple-double. I mean, obviously the triple-double is points and it's very important, but I think that little excerpt from, the veteran shouldn't go unnoticed because it was so major, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I'm a Miami Heat fan. I love Dwayne Wade and have always loved them, and their culture obviously was amazing this year. But I'm curious for you, being a captain of your team in a sport that is very, isolated, I guess, in terms of it not being it's a team sport, but you also focus on your event. Mm-hmm. What did you do in between when you were not competing to instill confidence in your teammates? And what little things did you guys do in the track platform to kind of pick each other up and encourage one another?
Yeah, so with track and field, it's super easy to get just caught up in your own event. And it's super easy to just think about what you're doing. And obviously you need to. Like if you're worried about what everyone else is doing and you're not worried about how you're competing, you're going to fall short. It's not going to go well. But when it comes to a team competition, especially during like conferences or something like that, where, your every point counts, you need to support the team. And so I think I realized that from the people that were captains before me and my senior and when I was a freshman and sophomore, and I got to see what the seniors and juniors were doing to help support the team. Whenever they weren't competing, they were out there, hey, let's go to the long jump pit and let's cheer on, Billy who's about to jump. Like, hey, if the distance guys are running, like let's go out there and everyone take a corner of the track. So I remember specifically, this was my favorite moment of track that had something to do with this. This is my junior year. It's raining, pouring rain, awful. No one wants to be there. It's cold. And our guy is seated in he's supposed to be seated 6th or 7th in the race in the 3,000, something that nobody really wants to watch, to be honest. It takes so long. And he's just he's just pushing and pushing and pushing. So he goes from being in 10th to 5th to sit. And we're oh man, Nick's got a shot at winning this. And it was awesome because everyone else just circled around the track and was yelling at him to go, go, go. Yeah. And while you're running, you can't hear anything. All the noise is just, you don't hear anything when you're running because you're going so fast, but you can feel the support. And he ended up going from 6th and getting, I think, 2nd place. And that was the game changer in it. He PR'd by a huge margin. And it was that it was great seeing that because It's a guy that we needed the points, and everyone on the team knows we needs the points. So just like support, yell, like help as much as you can, because it's so easy to just be like, my event's done. There's nothing else I can do to support the team. But that's such a lie. Like, just because your event's done doesn't mean you can't cheer on the crowd and cheer on your athletes and your teammates to help them be better. There's always something else to do. The job's not done. So, yeah.
That's an awesome story. And I think that sometimes it just takes one person to, start that type of energy. And I'm sure you were always probably one of the first people to make sure that your team was picking each other up. And because if you give that type of energy to others, then they're going to give it right back to you. And that type of environment is just so much fun to be in. So that's awesome.
Yeah, having a supportive team, and people where that if you fall down and you have 4 guys that are about to have their hand out ready to pick you up, like there's something about like, okay, I'm not doing this alone, and it makes you're stronger together. I think even a quote on your email I remember seeing, like, if you want to go fast, travel alone, but if you want to go farther, travel together.
Yes, love
there
it.
You go. I mean,
yes, Colin.
tell us about that. Like, explain what's the point of having that, and what does it mean? Like, hey, I'm strong enough. I can do whatever I want. I can go in 100 miles an hour 100% of the time. Well, I mean, like, obviously that's not the case, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
So, like, what does it mean to you to say, if you want to travel far, travel together?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. It's an African proverb, and like I said, my roommate named Bilal, he's originally from Ghana, and so that's made the quote even more meaningful to me. And there's a cool picture online with like lions, just a pack of lions. Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I just think that on any team, like 15 guys is stronger than one. And so what's your strength, Colin, for our basketball team, and what's my strength, and what's Ben's strength, and how can we all work together and just make each other better, and just go as far as we possibly can. And I just think team sports are so much fun. Even in track, like when you're talking about that story, like I can visualize myself running around a track, and how, like, we go out now, you and I, and we exercise, and there's nobody cheering for you. But if you have a whole team, especially a college program, there's a lot of people and parents and just fans, and they're picking you up. Like, imagine if you had that every single day. And like you said, you knew everybody had your back and they want you to succeed. And something I talk about in my book is my friend DeRay, my teammate from Maryland. And when he would take a charge, which he would do a lot because he was a big guy, I felt like I took a charge. And when he would score a basket, I felt like I scored, because we would, we'd work out together, we'd practice together, we'd eat meals together, play video games, everything. So just that camaraderie and relationship that we had, I think, is so important to the on-court and the on-track and on-field success that really plays into having a successful team.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have trust, and you got to have that connection and relationship with your teammates, because if you can't trust your teammate, it doesn't mean you have to be best friends. Like, obviously, you having that connection with your roommate, or with Bilal, right?
Yeah.
You having that connection is going to make things even better, but it doesn't mean you have to have that connection with everyone, but you have to trust them. You have to trust your teammates. And so, like, having that's going to help you grow to the next level, I think, because you can't do it alone. Like, if you try to just put the team on your back and it's just me and I'm going to do everything, I'm not going to ask help from anyone. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, yeah, honestly, that's really true. And I think it just makes it more fun. Like, I think there's a great quote. It's outcome aware, but process driven. So the second that they shoot the gun, or however it works for track to start the meet, or for basketball, when they throw the ball up, team A wants to win just as bad as team B does. But like, what can we do in between the time of, the game to actually improve our chances of winning? And those are things that you can control. So you can't control the referees, and you can't control how many shots go in the basket, but you can control how do you respond to any mistake. So if you miss a shot, do you sprint back on defense, or do you let the other team go for a 5-on-4 and leave your team out there to get scored on? Or do you really focus on sprinting back every time? Or if you throw the ball out of bounds, do you let that affect you? Or does your teammate come up to you, give you a high five, say, "You're good, man, move on to the next play"? So I just think there's so many little things that you can control that are actually the big things. And I think sometimes coaches more focus on a play, like let's run a baseline out of bounds play and waste 20 minutes doing that. Not saying that those aren't important, but I think next play type mentalities that I was just talking about happen a lot more frequently than a baseline out of bounds play that I think have a bigger impact on the scoreboard.
Exactly. Yeah, and you need to be able to get the tiny details of the things that's going to affect you to help you win. I mean,
Yeah.
if you got to get the tiny details down, like, hey, where am I supposed to stand during during I don't know play names for basketball.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
like I didn't get that. I wasn't that good. I stopped at rec league. I think my high is like 9 points. Like it's, I was a force to be reckoned with on the court for sure when I was 10. But yeah, it's like you have to get those tiny details right, because
Yeah.
if you don't, like the other team's going to, like you said, like your team wants to win just as much as the other team. So it's like but it's how you execute that's gonna make the difference there.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing, it's a little different. It's kind of towards the go fast or go far aspect of things. Something we saw, especially, well, since you're my Miami Heat fan, the Mamba mentality or just working hard. So we saw in what was that game 3, or game 3, game 2. I can't remember. It's so hard. But when Jimmy Butler played all but 1 minute in the game,
Hmm.
and we saw him put his heart on the floor, work harder than ever. And we see him right the day after the finals is back in the gym working hard. Um, for you, is there, do you have, is there like a line of like when you're working too hard? Like, is it even possible to work too hard, or is it just like you just want to get better? I mean, obviously, we know the Mamba mentality and
Yeah.
all the pro athletes and all them have insane drive. But in your eyes, is it possible to work too hard, or is that not a thing?
Yeah, no, I think those are two great examples, Kobe and Jimmy Butler. I think the best word to describe him is just relentless. I think one thing that I won't get too much into it, but I think that LeBron and the Lakers complain a little bit too much, and Jimmy just plays. He smiles. He's a great teammate. He makes everybody better. And then in regard to working too hard, I think as long as you have your priorities set, I think you have to pick a few things that at your core you really want to accomplish and focus on. So I think family is so important. So if you're working too hard at your job and you're not spending time on your family and friends, then I think maybe your time is not being spent where it should be spent. Now, with that said, if you have a drive like Jimmy Butler and you're getting paid to be a professional athlete and he's able to balance that stuff, which in the bubble he opened up his own coffee shop, I think, so he obviously had some free time. But in an ideal world, you're usually with your families and stuff. So I think as long as your priorities are in place and you know exactly what you care about and you put all your time into those 2 or 3 things, I don't think you can spread yourself too thin. I think that just giving your best effort, and it's contagious to your teammates. I heard a story with Jimmy that they were there at 3 in the morning with Bam Adebayo and another player, and that was the first day of practice. So just that work ethic, and I don't think you need to go at 3 in the morning. You can probably get the same amount of efficient work in from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. But for them, that was them setting the tone for the program or the team, and obviously they went very far because of their great leader in Jimmy Butler and their coach Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, it's I agree. Glad you said that. That was a great answer, in my opinion, because it's like everyone's given the exact same 24 hours in a day, and it's how you decide to utilize them that counts. Because it's like, hey, what are you going to sacrifice in order to be, to get what you want? Like, if I decided, hey, I'm going to spend 24 hours a day at my age, at my 5'8" stature, to just shoot hoops and play basketball all day, never, like, people would be like, Colin, maybe not the best idea. Like your family life is not looking great. Like, you're not having any friends. You're not doing any of this stuff socially.
Mhm.
Maybe not the best way to spend your time. But it's like, but if someone that's like a Jimmy Butler and he's like, hey, I want to be the best player, or I want to be the best player I can be,
Yeah.
it makes more sense. So it's like you got to find out what your priorities are, and then once you have your goals,
Mhm.
then you can't work too hard when it comes to your goals. Like, once you know what you want, like, go for it.
Yeah.
I think it's super important to have those types of goals.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And for a guy like him who's getting paid all this money to do that, I can understand it. But for you and I, like you said, not being probably not NBA is probably not knocking on our door anytime soon. So making sure we spend our time doing things that can add value to others' lives as well as ours is really important.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, adding value to some other people's lives and everything. I know you have your own um, recruiting company that you're working with that's helping athletes that it seems like might be following a similar path that you did when you were in high school.
Mhm.
Kind of, can you share about what it is that you do there and how you're helping the next generation of student athletes get to where they want to be?
Yeah, so that's kind of the next thing I have going on. I just opened up or started my own business, Dan Horowitz Leadership Consulting LLC, and a few services I'm offering are team building, like some of the things I talk about in the book. And at the end of it, there's a lot of team building exercises, and the teams I've played on, that's been so much fun, um, just to I guess connect off the court, just to which actually helped a lot with our on court success. And so offering team building to not just sports teams, but any company that wants to improve their team, whether it's communication or camaraderie, and just working with them to help them have a more joy in their day to day and doing whatever jobs they're doing. And then the recruiting stuff. So as I said, I didn't have the easiest route to playing college basketball, but it's I'm not shying away from it. I'm proud of everything that's happened and the way it's worked out. And I've helped a few kids. I actually coached a kid 5 years ago at Syracuse basketball camp, and he's just a great kid. And we had stayed in touch, and I kind of helped him through the recruiting process a little bit. He's from New Jersey, and this upcoming year he's going to be a freshman. We don't know about the season happening, but I helped him. There's another kid in Texas I coached at a camp, and we kind of stayed in contact and helped him. So I was like, I love doing this. These are under recruited kids. They aren't Division I kids that have scholarship offers, or Division II kids, but mostly under recruited kids that love the game. But I also think it's really important to know that it's not just being a track athlete or a basketball athlete. Like, there's ways to be involved. Like you mentioned, the manager for the men's team at Mount St. Mary, and like that's really cool that they acknowledged him. So there's still ways to be involved, whether you're a manager, practice player, for the basketball team, men's or woman, intramural club. There's just ways to be involved in your sport and still learn or work in athletics at a college. So there's just so many ways as a student you can be involved. And I think helping kids, navigate the process. I think for my business, there are recruiting sites out there that basically help kids get their profile and information and send it out to a ton of schools. And mine is more customized, where I know the schools after learning about their academics, what do they want to study, where do they want to go in terms of their state budget in regard to how much money they can afford. And all those things are factors that play into it. And then just helping them really communicate and talk to coaches and give themselves a good shot of finding a great fit.
Yeah, I think having that personal aspect is huge because, like, there's tons of sites and tons of different companies hey, you can that are very good at what they do. Where it's like, hey, you can blast out to a lot of different people, and there's going to be some people that bite, and depending on how heavily recruited you are as an athlete, that might go well, that might not go well, depending on what it is. What are you finding? I know we're still the season hasn't started yet for basketball, but I mean, I don't know if I was a senior or a junior in high school right now, and as senior, let's say senior, if I was a senior in high school right now and the season is supposed to be a month, 2 months away, I mean, I'd be pretty nervous with my recruiting, because I'd be like, what am I going to do? Like, what are you, whether it's recommending to different athletes, or what would you say for that person that's like how do you even get recruited now in 2020, if you may not even have tape or anything like that to go off of?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know you shared your recruiting story with me, and how, your neighbor, I think, was a record holder for the track team. And, you had was it family that also went
Yeah.
to Mount St. Mary's?
Well, not
Yeah.
yeah. My dad's boss, who was like
Boss.
the owner of his company, everyone in their family went. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, I think using your resources like that, like you're maybe just, you're a senior in the class of 2020. If your family friends with a few people, just let them know, like, hey, this is what I think I want to study. Do you have any suggestions of a school? And, you could have a great career like you did. Or you can just maybe find out a school that you'd never even heard of. So I think now the two things are exposure. There's a lot of events that are going on now. And I think it's important for kids to not only just play in those events, but make sure that they're being recorded, because coaches want to see film. So if you can get in front of these coaches, and a lot of them can watch virtually as well, so because they do have cameras set up, so there should be no problem getting film on yourself. So just getting film, and then also just being proactive. Like I said, there's there's a ton of Division III schools out there, Division II schools, and all their information's online. So just basically what I would suggest is put the head coach in the main email, CC the assistants, introduce yourself, explain why like that school you're reaching out to, like what do they offer, make sure it's customized towards them, and then just put a link for your highlight tape. And then also, you and I could go out now and probably make some cool highlights. So also having a full game film so they can see how you do those things that we talked about. Are you boxing out every single time? Are you helping your teammates up off the ground? Are you communicating with your teammates in a positive way with your words and your actions? So just so they can see how you communicate with everyone. And then all the information that they need to contact you, and how your GPA is, your SAT scores. They just want to know all that in one email. And then the best part about emails, you can send another one. So they don't respond in 4 days. I didn't mention this earlier, but my Newberry College coach didn't respond until my third email. And I said, "Hey, coach, top three. You're in my top three." And that's when he responded. And that was after doing a lot of research, and just the area was great. But you just keep replying until my philosophy is you need one yes, and you keep reaching out until you hear no. And if they say no, then that's fine. Say thank you for taking your time to get back to me, and you move on to the next one. But I think for kids now is they're kind of afraid to pick up the phone and call someone. And obviously, you're a very outgoing guy. I'm sure you don't have a problem talking to anybody. So call them and just leave a voicemail and say, "Hey, I sent you an email a few days ago. Didn't hear back. My name's Dan. Please contact me at this number and this email." And that goes a long way. And being a college coach, if that happened to me, which it did, I think 1 or 2 times, I was impressed, and I try to get back to everybody, but I think coaches would reply if you took that next step of calling them.
Yeah, it's I hear that was pretty much how part of my training was for my current job with sales. You're gonna our current, like, what the philosophy or the idea is, it takes 7 or 8 touch points on average just for a prospect to respond.
Wow.
And so it's like it takes them just you have to just reach out 7 to 8 times just for them to answer the phone once on average. And that's average. So there's sometimes you got to reach out 15, 20 times just for them to answer once.
Wow.
And so that's that persistence. And nowadays, I don't want to sound like I'm like 50 million years old and like, well, back in my day, we used to call. No, like, I don't want to say that, but it's like, because I was definitely part of that, that area of people that didn't want to call up until now. I have this job in sales because now all I want to do is call people because I'm like, it's so much easier. Just answer the phone. But there's a lot of people, hey, I just don't want to pick up the phone, don't want to call coach. But it's like, well, if this is what you want to do, if you want to go to Newberry, you want to go to Swarthmore, you want to go to wherever it is, you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone, because if you want to do something you've never done before, you got to do things you haven't done also.
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I agree 100%. That's a great saying that you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's like I remember my favorite quote that I have is from Mike Tyson, and he's like he says in his Mike Tyson voice, he's like, everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to lift no heavy weight. It's like, if you want to bench 400 pounds, you're going to have to bench 350 pounds at some point. And so it's like it takes time to get there. And like, if you want to go to Newberry, you're going to have to reach out at some point, or it's not going to happen, because so many people think it's like, oh, they'll call me. Like, no, they won't. Like, unless you're like Zion, no one, chances are they're probably not. So it's like, you got to reach out. You got to be persistent with things.
Yeah, no, I love the Mike Tyson quote. I think another quote, I don't know if I know the whole thing, but it's just, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And, so, I think keeping that in mind, it's so easy, as as an athlete, when you're winning, everything's going well, it's so easy to just be positive. But when things are going wrong, or you just called 10 times and the person didn't pick up, but you called that 11th time and they pick up, it was worth it. So I just think, like you said, being persistent and determined is just so important in life for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. One thing, kind of flip a little bit, but so one question that I got from a guy that I actually just had on the show, John, he said, what would you say is one person, thing, event, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, that leads to your success, or would lead to you being successful in whatever it is, whether it's something currently or in the future, And then what is some person, thing, event, trait, whatever it is that you do or have done that would lead to a failure of yours potentially in the future.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, so something or someone that's helped me be successful already, or that's gonna help me
Or
be
that would,
successful.
like, let's say it's like, hey, let's say your goal, let's just say your goal was to, you know, make it to the NBA, and
Yeah.
you did, and you're like, this is what helped me be successful.
Uh-huh.
Or it's like, hey, my goal is to start the #1 shoe company in the world, and it doesn't work. You're like, okay, this is probably one thing that led to that failure or whatever it is. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd say I don't know if this is the best way to answer it, but for me, I'd think that for something to be successful, like make it to the NBA, I would say surround myself with just great people, and then that people that want to see me succeed, but also they're something about that ask me when I say I can't do something, they're like, well, why not? Like, why can't you do something? So I think I've done a really good job of always surrounding myself with positive, kind and genuine, hardworking people that are just, I've created this little circle of people that are just dream chasers. I like to call them, they're just chasing their dreams, and, they're doing this. And I love calling them and talking to them and seeing them do great things. So I think when you surround yourself with great people, and you invest in them just as much as they invest in you, great things would happen. And I did that and still didn't make it to the NBA, but that's okay, because I'm still just so thankful for the relationships, and everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think why maybe I failed, besides being 5'8" and not being able to dunk and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I would say probably just trying to do too many things, and um, like I said, you need to pick a 2, 3, 4 core things that are really important to you. And I think I like to try to do some passion projects and do this. And I just think sometimes I spread myself a little bit too thin. So really just trying to narrow in on what you want to do, and then, and just get the job done with those things. And it's okay not to achieve your goals, but as long as you know that you gave your best effort, I think that's really important. And then you evaluate, and you either try again, or you try something new. I'm curious as to what you would answer for that as well.
That's actually insane that you said that, because in the episode I just did, I said the exact same thing.
Let's go.
I was sitting here just like, as you're saying that, I'm like, it doesn't, like, he said literally the exact same thing.
That's
Like,
not public, right? The podcast, because I haven't heard that.
it just dropped so unless you saw it this morning,
Oh,
yeah,
I'll have to listen.
it's so wild, because that's what I said, because it's so true. The best thing that I had, for success in leaning into the future, is that I've had a fantastic support system, and I recognize that I've had it great. I've drew blackjack 20 times straight when it comes to support system. Like, I'm just so lucky, and I recognize that. Like, parents have been super supportive of everything that I want to do. I've always had great teachers that are super helpful in helping me learn or whatever it is. And I've had great coaches, like all of my coaches that at least that I report to directly. Like, I mean, there might've been some assistant coaches or head coaches, and there might've been some teachers that weren't fantastic, but pretty much all of my coaches, teachers, parents have been super supportive and are really, really helpful in getting me to the next level. And then same thing with, what I think would be my failure. Like, I want to do so many things. Like, still today, like, people are like, oh, what do you want to do when you, like, what's your next goal? It's not even what do you want to do when you grow up, because at this point I'm grown up.
You're
apparently.
grown.
Yeah. But it's like, what's your next step, I guess? And it's like, oh, well, I want to do this. I was like, but I also really want to do this. I'm like, oh, I have this other passion project. And so I'm trying to do so many things, just like you had mentioned, and spreads myself thin at times. And I'm not able to give my 100% effort towards something that's important, because I'm like, dang, like, I can't do this, this podcast today, because I have to edit for, this group project that I have that I said that I do. So it's like, that's a big difficulty of mine. I'm trying to get better at it, because it's something that I do way too often. It's not.
Well, that's wild. And I think it's awesome that, we resonate in the conversations we've had, just because of, just having such good people in our lives. And I don't think it's a bad thing to want to do a lot of things, but, I think the things that are really important, you make sure you find time for, and those are usually, family, friends, then, your job, and then something like a podcast where you're adding value to others' lives. And I think that kind of fills your cup, as I know you enjoy talking to passionate people. And so you make time, to get that done. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's you got to surround yourself with good people, because that's going to help you go far. It's like I don't know the exact quote. I'm probably will butcher it, but like you're the product of the 4 people that you spend time with the most.
Yes, yes. I think that sounds really good. I think that's accurate for the quote.
Yeah, it's like it's whoever you spend your most time with, you're going to be an average of those people in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
So
I
it's like
love that.
if you have great people, like you're gonna be great. But
That's
I mean,
great.
Dan, this has been awesome. I'm sure we could go for another 2-3 hours here, but
Yeah.
I mean, where could somebody? We mentioned your book. You showed that you have a copy of it. Like
Yeah.
when can people expect it to release, and where could they find it? When they're looking for it.
Yeah, so today's October 15th, the next Friday, the following Friday, I hope to have the paperback and the ebook up for sale on Amazon. And
Oh, so tomorrow. So this is going to be going up next Thursday. So
oh,
this will be tomorrow if you're listening to this on the first day, the book will be out tomorrow.
there you go. That's awesome. And I'm just so grateful for all the support I've had. It was a team effort. I do want to give Tammy Matheny a shout out. And as you know, she's just an awesome person, but I heard her on a podcast similar to this. She did a great job talking to you, but I reached out to her. She helped me, encouraged me, helped me with the title of the book, the formatting, and just regard to connecting me with people that could help me. And, I'm just so grateful for the team effort, the team first mentality that it took to get it done. And just like I said, just so grateful, and hopefully it helps a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, much like what you had said, you could have probably done it by yourself for the first couple chapters and it would have been great. But if you want to go far and finish the entire book, you had the team, and I'm sure it probably helped a whole lot.
Yes, that's a good way to tie it all together.
Dan, thanks a lot for coming out today. Like it's been awesome talking to you. It's cool hearing so many of the connections that we had. There's
Yeah.
actually so many other weird ones too, with Swarthmore College and how that. So, a lot of weird connections, interesting ones. But thanks so much for taking the time. It was a great conversation, and I hope that I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I will just say, if anybody wants to connect, on Twitter, Dan Horowitz, so DanHorwitz and the number 1. And then my website is www.danhorowitz.com. And if anybody wants to reach out, if I can add value to them or pay it forward, I'm definitely willing to get on a phone call or help out any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Dan. Looking forward to the book coming out tomorrow. Should be pretty cool. So thank you. And thanks to everybody that was listening. This has been another episode of Innovators Anonymous. Make sure that you leave a like, rating, share with a couple friends. And if you like the show, make sure you follow us on social media at innovators.anonymous. You can get all of the news on the latest episodes and what's going to be coming around the pipeline next. This has been a good one, and peace.